Leo was an ugly, worthless, isolated child who was betrayed by humanity for being the strongest, overpowered hero and reincarnated by God as a demon lord to destroy the entire world. In the year 447, the demon lord's skeletal army rushed towards the human soldiers, but even as they slayed the humans, all of them were revived and blessed with godly powers from the angels. And when a giant dragon began raining fire on his castle, Leo sat inside of his corridor, watching how the 6 heroes destroyed all of his strongholds after being blessed with the gods. Once all of his skeletons were annihilated by a magical tree, priests began praying to cast the branches to destroy his last base, and Leo saw Ericale, the great sage who reincarnated with God's powers. With his anger swelling, he swore to burn him alive, but his Fenrir general reminded him of his vow to the goddess of rebellion, so Leo accepted defeat to keep his oath. As his castle was falling down, Leo dropped his wand and promised that he would reincarnate in 1,000 years to destroy all of humanity. After a millennia had passed, 2 girls began exploring the ruins of his castle, looking to eliminate the nest of giant voids inside. As they explored deeper, Celia realized they were entering the demon lord's tomb, and they eventually made it to the demonic gate, where she saw writing in a language she'd never seen before, so she tried translating it with her phone. However, it was as worthless as her companion Regina, who said that she would go looking for explosives in the other room. As soon as she left, Celia touched the door and activated the magic seal, opening it in that instant. With the flames burning on, she saw a giant crystal in the middle, and her radar's limiter broke, but she saw a person was trapped inside. When Leo reincarnated himself, he remembered meeting Roselia, the goddess of rebellion, who told him that 1,000 years from now, she'd be waiting for him in her child form, and disappeared before his eyes. At the same time, Celia continued firing at the crystal to free him, but Leo thought she was trying to rob his grave, so he destroyed the crystal to eliminate her. But as he got closer, he realized that she was the hottest girl he'd ever seen, and she wondered why a child was stuck inside a prison seal. When he looked to the side, he realized that he was back in his child form from when he was a hero, and Celia wondered how he got trapped inside. She began patting him down and hugged him to her chest, telling him that his sister will take care of him. Leo wondered how she could be so disrespectful to the demon lord, but suffocated inside of her huge cannons. By the time he woke up, he realized that his body was pathetic because of how easily he was subdued, and couldn't believe that he liked the way she disrespected him, but realized that he owed her his life for sharing her rations with him. The girl introduced herself as Celia, a member of the Excalibur Academy, and when she asked for his name, he realized that he could extract the information he needed by lying to her. But after saying that he was a 10-year-old named Leo, she thought he had a cute name, and he realized that her reaction indicated that his past was completely erased from history. However, since he was a child without any memory, she realized that he was definitely kidnapped by the voids. At the same time, Regina's limiter nearly maxed out, so she summoned her holy sword. Celia went on to explain that voids were dark creatures and they didn't know anything about them, or why they were called voids, and Leo thought this bitch was just as useless as her explanations. The only thing he wanted to know was what year it was on the Holy God calendar, but she didn't know what the Holy God calendar was, and told him it was year 64 of the unified human calendar. Just then, the earth began to quake, and Celia tried to protect Leo from the falling rocks, promising that she'll save him. The void broke through the walls of the room, but none of Celia's shots had any effect on the beast, so to prevent it from destroying his sacred mausoleum, Leo prepared to cast his magic, but fell flat on his face. With the ogre about to slash them down, Regina fired a golden beam to cut its arm off, but the ogre managed to stand back up, so Regina transformed her holy sword into a dragon blaster. Seeing the light that was forming, Leo knew it wasn't magic, and the impact it had on the void monster was stronger than a phase 4 explosion spell, so he wondered how it was still able to stand. Regina told them to start running away, so Leo took Celia's hand and realized that all of his reincarnation plans failed with this pathetic body. His only source of information was the hot girl moving him, but before them, a crystal fell down and a wyvern-class void appeared. Celia begged him to run away, but Leo was determined to use his powers to eliminate the beast and activated the magic from his wand. But before the wyvern would slash him down, Celia pushed him away and took the lethal blow instead. With her tomato juice coming out, she begged him to run to the surface with Regina, but a second void appeared along with a third wyvern. However, he wouldn't run and held her hand as she apologized for not being able to protect him, passing away. That same lifeless face reminded him of when the goddess revived him after being betrayed, and as the wyverns tried beating him down, he felt ashamed that he had taken a liking into the brave girl, so he promised to give them a fate worse than death. With his wand, he activated a Phase 8 gravity spell and crushed one of them down. None of them were able to crack his shield, so he stabbed the second one, and while the third tried running away, he released his ultimate fire spell to burn the dragon to a crisp. With this weak body, he felt that only a third of his power could be released. But even the bones somehow survived his Phase 8 spell. Looking over Celia's body, he knew that human life didn't matter to him, but because she risked her life to save him, he promised to do what he can, even though all his spells were related to death. In that moment, he casted an insignia on her leg, and the blood began entering back into her body, with fangs forming on her mouth. Even if she'd be angry with him when she learned the truth, he knew it would be better than letting her pass away. Regina managed to eliminate the last void beast, and as she tried communicating to Celia, he realized that humans had developed extremely advanced technologies over time. Celia regained consciousness and hugged onto Leo for being safe, but was shocked to see that she was still alive, so he revealed that he healed her with his holy sorcery. However, she had no idea what sorcery meant, and Leo wondered just how much of the ancient world had disappeared. Celia thought he possessed a holy sword, so Leo decided to go along with her bullshit, and she told him that holy swords appeared in humans when the voids invaded the earth. Because of that, everyone with those abilities joined the army, so Regina is one of the holy sword users. But Leo never knew that souls could manifest into weapons, and wondered why Celia didn't have one. Regina finally came back, but Celia asked Leo where the wyvern voids disappeared off to, so Leo said that he was just shaking and it disappeared when he got up. Outside the cave, Celia told him to ride her, and as they drove away, Regina tried introducing herself to meet them, but Regina told Celia that Leo wasn't being polite. However, Celia told her that she's just imagining things, and that there would be a whole lot more motion on the bumpy road. While riding away, Regina told him to enjoy hugging onto Celia, but apologized for teasing him after being kidnapped, but thought a little shock might help him regain his memories. Celia told her to stop before Leo grows up to call himself a man of culture, but Regina said that all guys have dirty minds anyway. Leo was the almighty undead king, but had no idea why it felt so good being ridiculed by the girl, and realized he'd be the type who liked getting stepped on at anime conventions. As they got closer to the base, Celia showed Leo humanity's last stronghold, one of the 7 assault gardens around the world, and it finally clicked that he was actually reincarnated 1,000 years in the future. 6 years ago, the voids entered through the dimensional gate, and Regina hugged tightly onto Celia, worried that all of their family would perish. However, Celia told Regina that her parents, along with all the other knights, would never lose the battle. And as the building began to quake, she told Regina that she would protect everyone once she got her holy sword. Her entire life, she'd been studying all the books her dad gave to her, and even her bigger sister had bought her a dress for all the dances she'd be invited to, with all the friends she would make at school. The building continued quaking as the sound of the explosions kept getting louder, but Celia kept screaming that everything would be fine. But they both knew that nothing would be the same. As the emergency lights went off, Celia tried running to help her family, but Regina held her back. However, Celia said that her family had never lost a single fight, and promised that everything would be alright. But when the explosions stopped, and the doors opened, both of them were long asleep. The entire city was in ruins, and every single soldier had been eliminated. Hearing those words made Celia collapse, as she apologized to Regina for lying to her that everything would be fine. Ever since that day, Celia knew nothing would be the same, and promised she would never lie again. Leo wondered if this entire place was a stronghold, so the girls told him that they also lived and trained here. This was the first time he'd ever seen an island this massive, except for Regina's massive cannons. Regina told him that it was also able to travel across the ocean to protect humans from all over the world. Celia announced to her leader that they managed to rescue a refugee, and said that he possessed one of the holy swords, saying he had healed her wound because of his kind refugee heart. Leo wondered why the f they kept calling him a refugee, so Regina said that it referred to people who lost their homelands because of the voids, and Celia told him that it was one of their missions to save all the refugees. They need more people who are as powerful as him to support them on the front lines. But it was getting late, so Regina began leaving to buy groceries when they came back. Once she was gone, Celia told him that he's on his own for the examination, and that she would meet up with him later. But before going through the door, Leo went inside the bathroom, angry at how everything ended up horribly wrong. His plan of rebuilding his demon army was basically worthless now, as humans had advanced without limits, and void monsters were stronger than most of his lead generals. On top of that, he had a worthless child's body, so he called Blackus and Sherry out. He told them that it's been a long time, but when Sherry laid her eyes on him, she thought that this was his cutest adorable form. He told her to shut her ugly mouth up, and Blackus was shocked to see him in his heroic form, since they had met after he became the Demon Lord. He told them that he had a favor to ask, and said that this land was an artificial land created by humans, and since they kept referring to it as the 7th Fortress, he knew there must be 6 more. Because of how powerful they had become, Blackus thought that even their pee smelled different, while Sherry couldn't believe they'd be capable of building all these structures when they were too weak to defeat a single elf. To study their powers, he wanted to infiltrate their military compounds and eat their foods, but Sherry was disappointed because she wanted to be the one who took care of him. When he told her to shut her mouth before showing her why he was called the Bone King, she apologized for disrespecting her master, so he told them to get out of his face, and both of them disappeared. At the entrance to the town, Pipes came and blew a mysterious wind on him, and after walking forward, a limiter tried measuring his mana. However, as he got closer, the limiter began going off, so he used his mana suppression to lower his detectable powers and walked forward. Finally, 2 poles appeared and scanned a laser at him, and when he was done, a machine spat out his card. As he looked at it, Celia came to take a photo of it, saying that she has everything necessary for registering the abilities of his holy sword. Since he didn't have one, he knew that he had to make some shit up on the spot. But Celia told him that she would be taking him on a tour first. Along the way, he saw how advanced their civilization had become and realized that this was actually a peaceful place to live in. Before his eyes, she showed him Excalibur Academy, but when she asked him if it was amazing, Leo calmly said it was. However, she thought he would have a crazier reaction, but Leo couldn't believe it was even bigger than his largest stronghold. As they walked around, she showed him the library, the classrooms, and the auditorium before they ended up at the research lab. These places were only a fraction of all the places in the city, and there were even more dorms for where they lived. On top of that, there was a bath and a dance hall. But Leo had no idea why they would need those for war, so Celia explained that holy swords were brought out by a person's emotions, and failed to appear when a person was depressed. Because of that, all military compounds in the past failed at maximizing the holy sword's potential. But Leo felt something was off about the way they mysteriously appeared. As she kept showing him around the city, Celia collapsed, but told Leo that she was okay. Since she'd been gone for 2 days, she needed to get back to training as soon as she rested to get her holy sword out. And Leo wondered why she was the only one lacking a sword. While walking around the academy, one of the girls thought Leo was cute, but the other told her to watch out because he might grow up to become a demon lord in bed. Leo wondered how she knew he was the demon lord, but thought it was just a coincidence. Seeing how all of them were girls, he wondered if this was an all-girls academy, but Celia told him that it just appeared that way because they were in the female dorms area. Just then, some ugly guy who looks like he's been fighting an addiction for the last 12 years appeared, and made fun of her battle scar because she was too unfit to go on expeditions. However, Celia tried to ignore Muzel and leave with Leo, but Blondie stopped her from leaving and asked her who Leo was. When she told him it was none of his business, he started laughing in her face because she was babysitting an ugly kid now. Even though he was disrespectful to the King of Bones, Leo tried overlooking it to appear normal. Muzel told Celia that she could join his platoon and never worry about risking her life again, especially with how useless she was at summoning a holy sword despite her bloodline. And with his collection of toys, he promised that he'd take care of her, but Leo knew that they were under his mind control spell. However, Celia told him that she wasn't interested and tried walking aside, but Muzel grabbed her hair and restrained her. As she yelled in pain, Leo screamed at him and stared with gleaming eyes, and when Muzel asked what his ugly ass would do, Leo casted his demonic spell towards him, making his legs quake until he fell onto the floor. He asked Muzel if he was okay, but told him to listen like the uncultured swine he was, warning him to never lay a finger on her beautiful hair again. Muzel tried activating his holy sword that was a reflection of his skinny wand, but a mysterious girl with massive orbs appeared and ordered him to leave the female dorm area with his skinny sword before expelling him. Seeing that he was defeated, Muzel left along with his lackeys, but Fine apologized that Celia had to put up with him. She saw Leo and wondered if he was the guy who came with her and introduced herself, while the spheres recorded his size for his school uniform. Seeing that this was another holy sword, he wondered if those spheres were bigger than Regina's, and Celia told Fine that he was the kid who healed her with his holy sword. With him being the first human with healing magic, she wondered if the large amount of mana that radiated across the city had something to do with him. But as she kept speaking, Celia began losing consciousness, and Leo realized that she'd began running dry of juice. A few hours later, they finally made it to their dorm, but Leo wondered why it looked so much older than all the others. Inside, she told him that this entire city is built on a merit system, and the higher rank platoons even have a jet bath. Leo wondered what fucking overpowered ass weapon would be called a jet bath, and when they went to Regina's room, they saw that she was already asleep after playing with her celery sticks. When they got to her room, he wondered why they don't have any locks, but she told him that they were the worst platoon in the academy, so no one cared about their privacy. On her bed, she began developing plot, but she told Leo to just go ahead and take a bath without her. Inside the shower room, she wondered if he'd be willing to join their platoon, but he sneezed, so she told him to take the shower already. With the shower head on, he was shocked that they'd mastered the ability to combine fire with water, and began washing his head with soap, thinking it's incredible technology. But what he wasn't prepared for was Celia joining him. He wondered if this bitch had any shame, but she told him that she's his sister from Alabama, and asked him if he would really want to join their platoon. After all, she's weak without a holy sword, and they're the worst platoon of all. So seeing how honest she was about the disadvantages, he asked her why she continued fighting when she was so weak, instead of being protected. However, Celia screamed that she could never handle another person she cared about passing away, but her mind had finally broke. Because of that, Leo activated the insignia on her leg, and her eyes glowed red while her vampiric teeth came out. In that moment, she got up towards him, sucking the blood out of him. When she wondered what she just did, Leo revealed that he'd been lying about his holy sword this entire time, because he could never revive someone, and that Celia would never be alive again. By the time Celia woke up, she wondered how he got her to the bed, and asked him who he really was, so he decided to tell her the truth. In his previous life, he was the demon lord who was able to use magic instead of holy swords. So to bring her back from the dead, he used his most powerful phase 10 spell, Create Elder Undead, and made her the highest ranking vampire queen in this world. After going an entire day without blood, she had to suck it from his neck before dying. And once she realized he wasn't lying, she told him that she wanted to share her past with him. 9 years ago, a large-scale void attack destroyed her entire country, and because they were the only 2 young survivors, the government took them in, using them as weapons in dangerous missions. Even so, her only wish was to destroy the voids, and thought that her holy sword would awaken faster since she had the bloodline of the strongest warrior, but has still yet to awaken her powers. Now that she'd died, she wondered if she would still be able to awaken her holy sword, so Leo told her that she definitely will. But his stomach started growling because he wanted to drink some milk out of her tip. At the cafeteria, Celia wondered why she had no appetite anymore, so he told her that eating food was the slowest way for her to regain her mana. When she asked him what he would be eating, he told her that he would just eat bread. But Celia said that he'd end up malnutritioned if he doesn't eat better. However, Leo told her that he wouldn't take advice from a worthless zombie, crushing her emotions. And he realized that being a vampire was actually hurting her feelings. She asked him how he planned on paying for his food, so Leo pulled out a gold coin and thought the gold digger would fall for him, saying that he has a mountain of 20 million gold coins to command his army of undead. However, Celia told him that her country only accepts credit cards, and that his gold coins were as worthless as his ugly face, so the only thing he could afford to do was breathe. Just then, 2 guys made fun of an ugly girl's uniform and tried to take it off, but she knocked them away with her wooden sword, telling them that she won't hold back if they try to disrespect her again. It was Celia's lifelong friend, Sakuya, and Celia asked her why those men were chasing her. So Sakuya told her that she snuck off from her camp's training to gamble their rations away. Seeing Leo, she recognized him as the boy that Fine talked about, so Celia told her that he was the only healer in this entire academy, and had taken a void down on his own. Sakuya was glad to meet him, but Leo didn't like her rough sword-wielding hands because they wouldn't be gentle with his demonic bone. Once they were done, Celia bought food for both of them, and Leo wondered why she was wearing a different type of uniform. So Sakuya revealed that it was the traditional outfit from her homeland, and swore to always wear it, especially since she became the only survivor after her country was destroyed by voids. Leo realized he shouldn't have asked her about it, and her friends came to ask her if she wanted to gamble again, but she told them that she already gambled them into slavery last night. At the taverns, the instructor Alto asked Leo to show off his holy sword so they could study the ability types of his weapon. Once he summoned his demon lord staff, she wondered what type it would be, so he claimed that it was a demonic wind type. With wind usually being a support type, she wanted to test out his abilities on the void simulators, and when Alto told him to fight them to show off his power, Leo crushed all of the robots with a single strike. Neither one of them believed he was just a support type, and everyone from outside comes to see the destruction he created. He realized that his ordinary life was now ruined, and as she tried increasing the stats of the void simulators, Musel said that he would be measuring Leo's powers instead. Leo accepted, but said he'd be weaker than the robots, pissing Musel off as he activated his holy sword along with his girl followers. Celia screamed that it was unfair to have all 5 of them fight Leo, but Musel said that it was his holy sword's ability to control people's minds, so he wasn't doing anything against the rules. Even so, Leo accepted to fight all 5 of them alone, and when Alto reminded him that he can always back down, Celia said that she'd be backing up Leo since she's his guardian. Musel thought it was perfectly fine, but said that if they were to lose, he would make Celia join his harem, so Leo accepted. But in exchange, Leo told Musel that he would never talk to Celia again if he loses, so Musel accepted his condition. He told Celia not to worry because he can destroy all of them with a single blow, so Celia smiled and called out for her practice sword since she couldn't summon a holy one. As soon as the match began, Celia rushed forward, but Musel's lackeys continued parrying all of her blows. Leo realized that her speed had already increased since she became the vampire queen, and when the redhead smashed the ground, Celia began slashing all the rocks away. While she was distracted, Musel sent his 2 other girls to take care of Leo, but he told Celia that he would be okay. The girl casted her lightning magic towards him, but he released the power of his shadows to prevent her from moving, and launched her off balance. At the same time, Celia took care of the 2 girls and told Musel to stop running behind girls like a coward. Regina managed to barely make it to the training area, while Celia continued subduing all of his lackeys. But as she got closer, he used his holy sword magic, absolute domination on her, and froze her in place. He casted her sword away, and began dragging his stick all over her body, but said that he needed to finish Leo off first. Seeing that he was cornered by all 5 of them, Leo knew that he could still destroy them with a single blow, but Celia kept repeating that she would protect Leo, and swore that no one would harm him. As her voice chanted louder, a holy light began appearing, and her holy sword materialized as she broke Musel's absolute domination spell. Within an instant, she rushed forward to break his holy sword, and all of the girls stopped being under his mind control. Celia asked him if he would forfeit, and he begged her to have mercy on him. Regina ran to hug onto Celia and congratulated her for awakening her holy sword, and Leo was glad that she finally awakened it. When they were back home, Celia thanked Leo for helping her, but he said that she was the one who protected him, so she smiled and swore that she would always protect him as his older sister. However, she wanted to request one more thing from him, and that was for both of them to get stronger together. To celebrate her holy sword awakening, Regina threw a party for all of them, and Fine joined them with Sakuya for the feast. They wondered what they should name her sword, and while Regina thought Shining Saint's sword was a cool name, Celia thought the Demon Lord's bone would be better. Even though she had awakened it, she felt that its true power was still dormant. But they wondered what they should do with Leo now that he'd be living with them. Since there wasn't any free rooms left, they realized he would need to sleep with one of them. Regina told him that her room is the best because she would always play with his celery stick. Sorry, I meant play with her celery sticks. Fine told him that she had an even bigger cannon than Regina's holy sword, while Sakuya told him that she was the best at handling swords. However, Celia told them that Leo would be staying only in her room. But when the girls wondered why, Leo said that she was his guardian this entire time, and that she needs to suck him for his magical fluid all night so she can keep living. Leo knew how sus he made that sound, but decided to just go along with it. Inside Fine's room, her massive spheres began circling around him to scan his status, but told him that she could only use her powers for a short period of time. When he asked her what she meant, she told him that 6 months ago, she lost her holy sword abilities when she was on an expedition with a different platoon, and every single one of them lost their lives. Once the scanning was complete, she told him that he should pay attention to her eyes when she tells the story instead of the ones under her face. Seeing a map on her computer, he asked her if he could have a copy of it, and when he was alone, he began trying to relocate the location of his death hold, and saw that the void spawned where his battles had went on. And when he called Blackus out, Blackus revealed that there was a large crystal placed under the island, and that while humans think they're controlling magic, they're actually extracting the crystal's powers. At the same time, Sherry came and told him that she finished her scouting mission and brought a legendary item called the donut. When he thought it was delicious, she told him that she even traveled to Mashal's universe to steal some cream puffs, but he asked her useless face about the actual information she'd gathered. After putting the food away, she told him that not a single person remembers the Demon King, and feels as if everyone's memories had been deleted. Hearing the shower, she asked him if he was enjoying the new girl more than her, but he told Sherry that she was an ugly-ass bitch compared to his highest-ranking vampire queen. Hearing those words made her sad because she felt as if she wasn't enough, but he told her that she was nothing but a worthless ugly maid that needed to know her place. Just then, Celia told him that she was done showering, and Leo couldn't control being the king of the bones. That night, 2 divers were exploring under the ocean, and saw a mysterious creature underneath. But as soon as they saw the great sage's face, he crushed both of them with his vines. In the 16th year of the Holy God calendar, Leo was one of the great 6 heroes of the world, and an ugly loser, who never learned how to open his eyes, was leading him to the site of a giant orc that was destroying the nearby villages. However, the man opened his eyes for the first time in his life, and when they got to the site, Leo wondered where the monsters were, but saw that the man had disappeared. As he felt uneasy and tried to draw his sword, 3 mages casted their barrier magic to suppress his movement, and 5 more soldiers ran to restrain him with chains. Once he was caught, they pulled him up and stopped him from moving, but he managed to free one of his legs. However, the men stabbed him with their spears, and even though Leo tried to resist, he had already lost too much blood, so the men dropped him on the floor. As his body laid lifeless, the soldiers were glad to finally defeat Leo, since the people liked him more than the king, and he was strong enough to overthrow their entire kingdom. When they walked away, Leo heard a heavenly voice telling him that it wasn't his time, and wondered why he walked into their trap, especially since he knew they were about to kill him. However, he revealed that he only wanted to make the people feel safe, so when she asked him if he regretted saving them from the SS rank calamity, he told her that he didn't. After all, he didn't view them as evil, but the goddess told him that she didn't care whether they were evil or not, because this entire world is evil. She wanted to begin a rebellion against the world, and when Leo asked her why she was inviting him, she told him that he was the only one she could ask for support, but then revealed she was lying. Her real reason was because she'd been watching him all this time, and has fallen in love with him, telling him that it's boring to be a hero, so he should become hers. His eyes shifted towards her, and Leo woke up from the dream, determined to find Roselia and to restore the Demon Lord's army. At the same time, Celia was sleeping, but Leo commanded her to wake up, and her body levitated upwards, wondering what took over her. Leo showed her the insignia on his arm, saying that she is forced to do anything he wants since she was now his servant. When she heard those words, she realized that he could do anything he wants to her, but told him to be gentle since she doesn't like it rough. However, Leo said that her body was as worthless as her face, especially since she spent all of last night sucking his body fluids out. Celia apologized because she can't control her desires for sucking his blood while sleeping, but Leo told her that he doesn't mind her sucking his fluids out as long as she stops using her teeth. When she wondered if they were talking about the same thing, Fine began calling her phone and told her that there was a massive meeting where the leaders talked about colossal events in the sea last night. Celia asked her what they were talking about, so she said that 3 soldiers disappeared mysteriously, and that she would investigate the source of disruption, but the only thing that was disrupting was her entire fleet of missiles in the back.
We must stay focused, brothers. We must Stay focused.
After hanging up, she told Leo that they won't be having school today, so she wanted to spend her time training with him. However, Leo wondered if she wanted to replenish her mana first by draining all his body fluids out. At the same time, the generals of the island were still searching for the missing divers, but when they pulled up the footage from the night before, they realized that a void creature caused their disappearance. After all, the third assault garden was stampeded 6 years ago, and a similar structure had appeared beneath the island as well. One of the generals told the army leader to train his soldiers for the upcoming battle, but knowing that preparing for war would cause panic, he thought it would be better to conceal its presence for the time being. Just then, the phone began ringing, and after one of the commanders hung up, he revealed that the structure had disappeared since last night. At the same time, Celia was practicing against the drone robots, and after knocking them away and slashing one of them down, the system finished her session. Leo thought it was incredible how gracefully she handled the sword, and wondered if she'd ever been trained in the past, so she revealed that since she never had a family, she'd always been teaching herself all the techniques. To comfort her, Leo said that he'd teach her how to extract the full potential of her vampire queen magic, and use her own mana to enhance her physical abilities. However, he wanted to give her an actual challenge, and summoned his wand before surrounding them with a magical concealment sphere. From the ground, he began spawning a horde of skeletons, but Celia was scared because she hadn't seen any skeletons before, but began rushing towards them. One by one, she began slashing all of them down, and leaped to evade their attacks as Leo summoned hundreds more. By the time she defeated all of them, she moaned from how exhausted she had become, so Leo activated his wand to swallow their dead bodies away. She bent over to thank him, and Leo said that he'll allow her to replenish her mana, saying that she's already grown much stronger than before. Even then, she still wanted Leo to train her harder and show her how to handle the sword. But before he told her to watch what she's saying, his stomach began growling from how hungry he had become. Meanwhile, Fine's sphere was scouting the assault garden for the disappeared men, and underneath the island, a group of divers were still searching for their bodies. On the other side of the island, Sakuya's ugly ass had finally gambled all her money away, but saw Blackus sitting alone. As she got closer, she realized that he had no collar and decided to name him Kurigane. But as he growled at her, she tied up her food to him and bid him goodbye. Inside Fine's dorm, Mrs. Massive Cannons came in and told Fine to try her new warm liquidy soup, wanting to know if it was good before making Leo eat all of her liquid out. Fine wished her luck, and Sakuya walked in telling them that something smelled like fish. But when Regina told her that it must be the new meal she made, Sakuya told her that it was definitely something else. After sitting down to eat, Regina wondered why Fine was in her uniform, so she revealed that she was still investigating the entire assault garden even on her day off. But Sakuya had already fallen asleep. Inside the city, Leo was still shocked at how nice their civilization was, and how everyone lived in peace. Meanwhile, Sherry's dumbass had become a chef to feed Leo the best food, and when her boss asked her to cut up the potatoes, she told him that she had a sharper knife, and slashed everything along with his plate. The boss screamed, saying this was the reason her master disowned her ugly, worthless ass.
What did he say?
As she was about to clean the outside of the store, she saw Celia driving Leo around. And as Celia went to get food for him, Sherry stared in jealousy and wondered why he would pick an ugly hag over her. A few minutes later, Celia arrived at the restaurant she wanted to show him, but when a bunch of kids came out to see Celia, he wondered why they had come to an orphanage. However, she told him that they made their money by selling food like a restaurant, and when Leo saw how some of them used to be his same age, he remembered the days where he would be starving with barely any money. Seeing her smiling around them, he was glad that this world actually cared about those kids. Some ugly fat ass asked him if he was friends with Celia, and while Celia was unpacking the food she got, some prankster came to pick up her skirt. But before Leo could kill him, Celia told him that he's just a child who has no idea what he's doing, so he pulled his shadows away. The caretaker of the orphanage finally came, and Celia told her that he was the Leo she found in the dungeon, so all the kids ran and thought he was the coolest guy for surviving against voids. The caretaker told the kids to give him some peace, and when Celia revealed that she'd brought some donuts, all of the kids ran and were excited to eat their favorite food. While Leo stared at them, he realized that this was the place Celia wanted to protect, but the place he wanted to protect was still nowhere to be found. Underneath the ocean, the new divers wondered where the structure had disappeared off to. But inside the cavern, a man heard a vibration against the wall, and Fine saw the monitor read the vibration, while Sakuya felt it in her bones. Two men were talking about how the recent anti-climax video was, but they saw giant branches all around the facility, ready to devour their worthless asses for hating on my videos. At the same time, Leo enjoyed eating his food with the kids from the orphanage. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.